this one hunt where I was in North Carolina. I was walking the edge of this field, and it's like a long horizontal, like slender field. Like it's maybe only like 100 yards across, and it's like 700 yards wide. I was just walking the edge of it, and I knew the whole time that I was calling every 100, 200 yards. This Tom could absolutely hear me. But it wasn't until like I wrapped all the way around and got in his bubble did he gobble, and then came right in.
Welcome to episode 17 of the Huntxp podcast. Dude, we are jacked that we are getting closer to 20. 20 seems like we're just busting some barrier. I've heard some stats out there that most people don't get past 20 with their podcast ideas. And of course, when I heard that, I told Johnny, and I'm like, let's crush it. Let's just crush right by it. So Johnny's back with me tonight.
Let's get 21.
21's the goal, guys. 21's the goal. We'll be hanging out. Hey, thanks for joining us for this episode. I'm really excited for this episode. I got my swag on. We got a THP intern, the hunting public. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you've heard of the hunting public, but I know we've got some listeners that aren't as in tune with the hunting world as Johnny and I. So let me explain. The hunting public is a group of guys who started out mostly from Midwest whitetail, I think, and then branched off to their own thing with the focus on hunting on public land. And I think they gotta take credit, I think, in some degree, Johnny, and I'd love to see what you think about this, for the increase in public land hunting. I gotta say that they are responsible, at least for some of the interest or the recent increase in public land hunting over the past few years.
I agree. I think they have made hunting accessible to every man, every woman, whatever term you want to say. Because I think a lot of people get held up on, I need to own private land to shoot a nice buck or to do this or to do that. And I think they've made hunting very relatable to any person, any walk of life, any situation, which is cool.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see that.
They've helped to grow the sport, and when the sport has grown, that is good. That's beneficial. So
it's a good thing. We got he goes by Curl. His name is Roy. We're gonna have him on. He was an intern in 2020. We'll have to ask him. 21 maybe. It's been a while, but he still stays connected. I know Johnny noticed that he was on a recent video that they put out. So we're excited to talk about him for two reasons. One, just to hear what it's like to be a THP intern, and follow those guys around, capture those moments. He's an amazing photographer, he puts his own videos together. I really love his editing abilities. He's got to film for other names you might know, like Remy Warren and others. And he's an accomplished turkey hunter in his own right as well, and puts out almost his content is focused on turkey hunting. He's based out of North Carolina. And so we're turning the corner and our attention is starting to focus on turkey hunting. So I'm kind of stoked to have some of those conversations and start thinking through the plan of attack for this year. So
did you know that you can use AI to become a better hunter? Here's what you got to do. Our team at Huntxp has built a custom AI. We call it Crockett. And it is the combination of the power of AI and the collective wisdom of hunters for many years mashed up together and put right in your pocket, right in the field where you can level up your hunting game. You can ask it things like, what's the best broadhead setup for my situation? What's the best day to hunt this week? all sorts of questions. You can take pictures of the snake you almost stepped on in South Dakota and say, is this a rattlesnake? That's something that actually happened to us. It's super fun. Our community is having a great time building this. We'd love for you to join in at huntxp.com. Join us.
Have you always hunted turkey? How did you get into that?
I actually started hunting turkey because of Ben, I believe.
Previous guest.
Yeah. Yep.
Friend of ours.
Yep. I think it was just one of those things like, dude, you got to start doing this. And I'm like, okay. And so I remember I got my turkey license. I mean, it's been a long time now, but got my turkey license, went out on my first turkey hunt with my brother-in-law actually, and just completely green at it, but could use a diaphragm call, kind of. I could make some sounds.
Yep.
And I went to a spot where I knew there was a lot of turkeys, and I sat down. We sat down along a fence in a cow pasture, up against fence posts and a little bit of shrubbery. It was like actually probably pretty terrible. And I put a Jake decoy and a hen decoy out, and heard some on the roost in the morning. And I remember it was raining, and yeah, it's like just after daybreak, I turned around and 2 Jakes were coming from behind us, and they walked out right in front of us, and I shot it. But ever since then,
there's a beard. Yeah, just let it go. Yeah.
And I actually remember ever since then, I've just been hooked, and I've harvested several nice birds. And it's not bow hunting for me, but man, do I love doing it. It's just different, it's the call and response, it's the chase, and it can be a social thing. You can do it with your buddies. And my boys harvested their first turkeys last year, which was really cool, and really frantic. I'll have to tell that story probably sometime, but it was awesome.
Can't wait to hear it. Turkey hunting with youth. I was one of those youth someday. So my uncles, I'm sure, have tons of stories. We got to have Ben back on just to tell probably stories about JD trying to figure out how to turkey hunt. Because I started turkey hunting with him.
Yeah, that's actually where me and Ben and my cousin Kevin, we take our kids, and a couple other guys actually, we take our kids to Ben's shack, and we do a big youth turkey weekend. It's really fun.
That's great, dude.
Yeah.
That's a blast.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. Yeah, we're turning the corner here. Minnesota tags open up, I think, in the next week or two here, where you got to pick your week. And by the time this comes out, Minnesota's draw will hopefully be open. I'll be going back to Trempealeau County, Wisconsin for our turkey camp. We have just a sweet setup there, have had a lot of success and a lot of fun out there. So I'm already getting stoked. You finding any sheds? Getting out there for that?
I had planned actually to get out. It's tough with my son in hockey because it's every weekend all the time. But I had planned on getting out, and then we got dumped on with snow. So that obviously covers the sheds. And so now I'm waiting for it to melt a little bit before I go out.
I actually did some shed hunting in like Minneapolis. I was going after the city deer racks in all the city parks, which there's probably a lot of other people doing that. I was not successful, but it was super fun because I brought my kiddos, and I'm like, look at this, guys. I brought Daniel around this tree with just tracks all over it and some sort of berries hanging off the top. I'm like, why do you think there's a bunch of tracks around here? And he's like, because this is the potty tree. This is where they take a dump. I'm like, well, yeah, clearly yes, but for other reasons. So it was just fun to add in a little bit of teaching moments with my kids. Like, it's when you're in a hunting atmosphere, it's harder to like slow down and look at the sign because you try not to spook deer. But shed hunting is a great way to expose them to sign, particularly if there's sign to look at.
I remember I was in Door County, and Jude was just probably a year old, and I had him on my back, and we were walking through a state park, and I was like, there is sign everywhere. I'm like, I am going to take a little walk, you guys, and I'm going to go find a shed. And I came back, and I had a beautiful 5-point side. I should have grabbed it. It's upstairs, but it was awesome. And to have your child on your back, and I've now found sheds with all 3 of my children individually on my back, which I don't know. For me, that's just kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, it's a fun way to introduce them into the world.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. I want to do a couple shout outs. We've got a lot happening on Instagram, and then we'll bring Curl on, we'll bring Roy on, be ready for him. Just want to give a couple shout outs. We haven't done shout outs to followers recently. Got a couple new followers. DIY Sportsman was on a couple weeks ago. He gave us a follow. Thanks.
He gave us the follow
Thanks,
back.
Garrett. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Garrett.
We got Big Game Train, who's going to be on in a few weeks. This is a guy from Minnesota who's going to talk about his training program for if you pick up a tag out west and you're like, shoot, I better get mountain ready. He's going to tell us how to do that. So shout out to Cody Skoll Rudd. Shout out to Andrew Segan. Thanks for the follow, man. Isaac Wheeler. That's my buddy. Appreciate you, man, giving us a follow. Jesse Robertson, Dale B, Mark Leos, Lucas Dehone. Got a really huge trout in your picture. Nice work, man. Stephen James, Tyler Abbey, Casey Starbuck. Wonder if she's got a piece of that Starbuck name. Probably not. John Denver.
What?
John Denver.
John Denver?
No, but yes. Wow. It is the John Denver, just not that guy.
Rocky Mountain High?
I mean, you know what? Yes, it's that guy. Yeah,
dude,
it's definitely
congrats
that guy.
On having a sweet name. That's awesome.
John Denver. Love it. Matt Morrison. I should have said Van Morrison, and then we would have been on a roll.
Yeah.
Scott Taylor, Chris Harper. Thanks, you guys. Sweet. Appreciate it. We see it every time. I know that you're just on the ground level of this stuff. Thank you for your follows. We love your comments. We love chatting with you about stuff. We got an email the other day from a guy, even on your Kuyu video, Johnny, who was asking about a particular thing, and you responded right away. That was awesome. So
yeah, it was really cool to actually get a question about that and to have, to respond and to have some dialogue with him. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, man. We'll respond. Send us an email. We'll respond to you. I think it's time, man. Should we give Roy a text and get him on the pod?
Yes, let's bring him on.
Let's do it. Well, Roy, you're here, man. Welcome to the Huntxp podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, we're stoked.
Yeah,
we're pumped to have you. Yeah. Would you introduce yourself to folks on the podcast? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, what you've been up to, and then we'll dive into it.
Yeah, so I'm from North Carolina, and I guess got my start in the hunting industry with the Hunting Public. I was one of their interns in 2021. And then since then, I've just kind of I did the freelance thing, as a videographer part-time for the past several years, and have since this summer I went full-time with freelance videography editing. So I guess that's what's happening most recently for me. But I also do the turkey van tours, kind of like my own annual hunting trip in the spring, where I just travel in my van and hunt turkeys for the months of the spring. Kind of what I love to do, and sort of plan my entire year around it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Why turkeys, man? What got you locked into turkey hunting that you just love it so much? I know you hunt other things and have other experiences, but why turkeys?
I don't know, man. It just because I only really started turkey hunting 5 or 6 years ago. And really when I started turkey hunting, that's when I started traveling to turkey hunt. And it was just the traveling to hunt in general. I had never hunted out of state before. And then I guess just that, I don't know, just that initial, getting outside of my comfort zone and trying something new. And then it leading to if I never did that, I never would have gotten the internship with THP, because I actually ran into them in Alabama the first year that I did it. We like shared camp we shared camp for a couple days, and they like offered me the internship after that, and that was kind of like how I got my foot in the door, sort of. It's just kind of like a freak thing, but it was like I watched their YouTube videos and I was like, they make this look so fun. Like, I want to do this. And it all kind of happened in a funny way.
Yeah. So hold on now. That's crazy. So I was going to ask eventually like how you got hooked up with them, but you would watch their stuff. You're traveling the country, turkey hunting, and you happen to pull in Alabama to a camp and they're there and you end up essentially sharing camp with them. So like when you saw them, I'm assuming you knew exactly who they were.
Oh yeah. I pulled up, or I pulled into the campground, was going to park, drove right past Zach and Ted. They were just sitting there at their campsite. I was like, hey, I know you guys. And we just kind of pulled in next to them. We just kind of talked for the rest of the afternoon and hung out for a couple of days. And then after that, we exchanged numbers, and then Ted gave me Warb's contact, and he asked if I wanted to be an intern. I was like, yeah, 100%. Definitely.
That's fantastic. Awesome. That's a really cool story.
What's the THP crew like in camp? Like what do they like to do when the cameras are off, their editing is done? What do they fill their time with? What would you say?
Honestly, not much, dude. It's like it's pretty it's pretty bare bones when you're on the road and you're filming and you're hunting every day, and you're hunting like every day, like sun up to sundown. It's like as soon as you get back to camp, you're going to sleep. Like you're gonna capture all the footage that you got that day, and that really takes the most amount of time. So usually if there's a bunch of people at camp, we'll have one person capturing footage, and then the next person is cooking dinner, and then after that we're going straight to sleep. Like it's there's never really much of a camp aspect, but I guess the Ohio Mud stuff is a little different just because there's so many guys, and like Shane always comes, and Shane's always like camp cook, so a couple people help Shane, and everybody's kind of like it's like it seems like we never have dinner until like 11 p.m. So everybody's just sitting around like hanging out waiting for dinner. So that's a little bit different, but I mean on their deer tour, it's not a whole lot of camping, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah.
So Roy, 2021 is when you had your internship with THP.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like?
Yeah, it was, it was awesome. Like getting to hang out with those guys and getting to learn from them and hunt with them. Like I felt very green just as like a hunter, which I had done it my whole life. But, I grew up in the South where you have your hunting lease and everybody hunts their one box stand over corn, and like you just pretty much get in the stand and wait and see what you get. So like I don't feel like I ever learned any woodsmanship from that. So I felt like super green on the side of woodsmanship. And so I guess I just like really tried to soak everything in when I was hunting with them, learn as much as I could. And I tried to make sure I was like hunting with everybody an equal amount of time, just to kind of, like get to know them and get to know their hunting styles. Like all of them hunt very differently. But yeah, it was a fun experience, but it was the worst year they've ever had in terms of killing bucks. Like I filmed my internship, I filmed 2 doe kills, and I never even was got to celebrate a buck kill. Like never was even part
really?
of it. Oh yeah, it was tough. I think I think they normally shoot like 15 to 20 bucks a year, and then that year I think we maybe got 6 or 7. So wow. It was tough. Like it was. I probably took like 7 days off from, I guess, the end of like the last week of August until like a week before Christmas. Like I was hunting every day. So it was like, it was an absolute grind, but it was so much fun. And I learned more that internship than, I mean, it was just such an invaluable experience for, like, you know, everything that everybody wants to be good at is they want to be better at hunting. And it's like, if you have the opportunity to go and spend 6 months straight hunting and in the woods, like it's super valuable. Like time is the biggest teacher.
So if you were to identify pre-internship Roy and post-internship Roy Hunter, what are the things that are missing from pre-internship Roy and what are added to post-internship Roy?
Definitely confidence. Like I would say like a lot of the, like maybe not everybody feels this way, but for me, I felt like I just kind of second guessed everything that I did. And like, you know, if you like hunting with them, it kind of just reinforced like, hey, these are all the things that I have been doing. You kind of just like have to keep doing it until it works. But like it just kind of gave me confidence to get the reps in. And then, you know, at the end of the day, like nobody, like if nobody has the secret sauce every time, you know, like at the end of the day, everybody's out there just guessing. And I think that was like the biggest realization for me. Like you can make educated guesses and more people know more based on certain experiences they've had that they can pull from. But like, I think the biggest realization for me was realizing that I was already doing like everything correctly. I just needed to trust it. And I didn't have the confidence before, but after that, I definitely came out a more confident hunter.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
What were all the states you got to go to? Where did you find yourself during the internship?
Started in South Dakota for antelope. And then I went and stayed with Zach in Denver. And we went to New Mexico for a mule deer hunt for a week. And then we came back and did a Colorado elk hunt where Jake shot a bull. So I filmed a bull kill, just
That's
no
cool.
whitetails. Yeah. It was actually awesome. It was
that one was, if I remember correctly, wasn't that like super up close and personal?
Oh yeah, he was like 3 yards.
Yeah,
it was. We called it the death triangle because he was just like right in the middle of all of us.
Yes, I remember the episode. Yeah,
dude, yeah, it was insane. That was my first experience like ever like backpacking or camping, or maybe not camping, backpacking for sure. And it was so much fun. After Colorado, I went back to Iowa for like the first 2 weeks of October. And then what did we do after that? We went to Indiana for the Public Land Challenge. Came back to Iowa, hunted with Ted for like 12 days. And I filmed him miss a buck on the ground at 5 yards, which is just like, honestly, no words. It's just like walking right at us. And he was drawing back on it. And he was like kind of walking like to our left shoulder. And Ted was just tracking it. And then once he had him in the pocket or in the opening, he stopped him. And then when he stopped him, he just kind of like kept floating and then punched the trigger and shot right in front of him.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah. It was heartbreaking. Yeah. Especially after 12 days. But so
what's it like being on the camera side of things? Like, do you feel engrossed in the hunt almost as much as a hunter? And what did you learn as a cameraman or a producer from that experience?
Yeah, I definitely learned like how to tell the story, like what shots you need to get, and kind of like going into the field, you kind of need to already know like what you need to get, and just kind of like from a super technical point of view, like anytime there's a scene change, like you're going from timber to a field, or you're walking back to the car to go try another spot or something, just like it can, I learned that like those transitions shots help tell the story so much better when you can have those and you can pull from those, instead of just like, okay, we were here and then now we ended up here and I have to talk about how we ended up here, instead of the viewer just kind of getting that organically from the footage.
Yeah.
I'd say nowadays I'm way more engrossed in the filming of it. Like I think I enjoy that more nowadays. Like I think I only hunted like a day or two myself this past fall, which I like to turkey hunt. So I kind of, I'm married. I try to use all my brownie points or save them all for the spring. So
we get that.
Yeah.
We understand. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Just wait until you have kids. Yeah.
It's fine. I really have, but because of that, I've really like fallen in love even more with the filming aspect of everything. Yeah, I just really, really like it. I feel like I'm really good at it too. So
I think
helps.
you are really good at it. Your content is fantastic. I want to touch on the telling the story part. We have a buddy who does this for a living also, and that's almost verbatim what he said, that it's taught him like the importance of telling the story. And I, for the first time this year, self-filmed, and I have 3 kids, but then I've been taking my 2 boys out and got to see my son harvest his first buck this year and everything. But I've just really enjoyed the footage, and not even for the world to see, but just for me to see, like
totally. Yeah.
That I have those memories. Like we just produced a short little video of my son shooting his buck, but like I have hours of footage of us just out hunting now for me and him to enjoy. And I think that is so awesome.
Yeah. I think that's why I started doing it in the first place. And then it's kind of like always needs to be the foundation of why you're doing it. Like,
yeah,
because I feel like I make very, like I guess I'm creative and I like to try new things and I like to like experiment with new things, and like they're not always received well. And at the end of the day, like I know that I made it because I thought it was cool, and like it doesn't really matter if anybody else thought it was cool, but like it is nice when they do think it's cool. But like that needs to be your foundation, is that you're doing it because you like it, you enjoy it, and it's, I mean, like you can learn so much from going back and watching your own hunts about what you need to get better at. And like also I just like having it, having it to show to other people and having it for myself. So there's a lot of reasons to film your hunts, and I never would discourage anybody who wanted to start. I would just try to make sure that they're doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
Dude, I'm so glad. That was awesome to hear you articulate that, because I feel like you codified for me actually what I appreciate about your work. Like you put out stuff that's different than kind of the run of the mill things that the YouTube algorithm would push to you. And I always appreciated that about your work. I'm like the look, the cuts, like I think you even produced some of your own music. And I did
early on. Yeah.
You did. Yeah. I just really appreciate it, dude. Like the trailer that you did for the Turkey Van tour this year, like I seriously got goosebumps. I'm like, dude, this is like high class editing, and your shots, your color composition, like all that stuff. I'm like, this is that. And so I could tell it was next level. You weren't trying to copy something. You were just trying to bring something out, a piece of inspiration that you had gotten, and you just wanted to try to do it on the screen, and it came out really cool. And I picked up a little bit with what you said, that maybe it's not always well received because it doesn't fit into the cookie cutter, like B-roll of the trees. here's a squirrel. Then all the partner sponsored things. And then like, here's the story. I went back to this, like you have like far off shots of yourself. The color gradings like really accentuates different aspects of it. So like, I wanted to tell you that, man. Like you may put that stuff out in the world and like wonder, does anybody ever appreciate this, or like how is this being received? So at least there's one of us out there.
Totally.
I know there's a ton more.
I'm so happy that you appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
Keep doing it, man. I'm gonna totally screw up this reference, but there was this interview of this guy who had recorded or mixed some of the Beatles songs, and you might know who I'm talking about. I don't know who I'm talking about, so sorry about that. But crazy looking guy out of LA, doesn't have a lick of technical experience with recording music, but the high A-class artists come to him because he focuses on what you just said. He focuses on coaching them to stay true to what they love and to create something that they love and stories that they want to tell and things that they want to try. So I just think that's great. I like your mentality. Cool. Keep it up. It's awesome, man.
Cool. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you.
That was like a 15-minute, like, just Roy is awesome segment. So sorry for that. But
it wasn't that long.
Okay, good. It felt that way. Talk to us a little bit about your work, man. Like what do you got going on this year with the Turkey Van Tour? What do we have to look forward to, those of us who watch your stuff?
Yeah, so I'm going to South Florida in about 8 days, and gonna try to. I'd never really hunted Osceola country before, but I'm just going because it's probably going to be my only opportunity to hunt in March, because me and my wife are going to Scotland like late March. So I figured I'd go while it's open. Yeah. So I'm going to do that. Definitely go out west to turkey hunt. I love hunting the Appalachian Mountains, so I'll probably hunt a few states up there too. I was thinking about going all the way to Oregon and Washington. I feel like that'd be really cool, but that's like 50-hour drive.
It's like clear across the country.
Oh yeah. I've done it once before, but I took 5 days to do it. And I wouldn't want to take 5 days of turkey season to do it. But I'm really thinking about like taking one day, driving to Oklahoma, hunting for a couple of days, and then taking another day to drive to Oregon and Washington and get out there. Because the last time I was there, it just looked like perfect turkey hunting habitat, and I've been wanting to go wanting to go back ever since. So
that's awesome.
I'm highly considering that.
So when you're putting together your turkey van tour here, do you sit down with a map and with like rules and regs on when season dates are in different places? Like, how does this work for you?
Yeah, I made like a little spreadsheet about all of the seasons and like not regulations, because they just vary too much. Like,
sure,
you kind of just got to look at it the season of. But I kind of have like a list of when states typically open, and I'll typically like there's a few things that I have to be back for, so I try to plan trips around that. I try to plan like 7 to 12 day trips, and then come home for a couple days and do it that way, like pretty much throughout the spring, just because I'm not a bachelor, and it's not really an option unless you're a bachelor. So
that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I typically honestly, by the end of May, I've already got the next season like planned, or at least a rough draft. Like, it always changes drastically, but I'll at least go through and like make a budget for what I think I could go on a trip for. And then I have the budget for next year. I just have to kind of align the dates and figure out what works. So
nice.
Yeah.
So I'm
I'm super curious. You just listed a bunch of different terrain, like Florida, and I realize that's, I think you said it's your first time going down there. Is it your first time hunting in Florida? So
I've
then,
been to Florida before, but I haven't hunted South Florida before.
got it. So I would love to hear, with your experience and your research, what's different across those terrains when you're chasing turkeys, and what's like tried and true certain in all those places. More so, what's different?
Oh, I assume that South Florida is going to be different from everything, but
aside from having to watch out for alligators. Yes.
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah. I think, yeah, I won't talk about South Florida because I don't have any experience there, but I've been just pestering all of the people that I know that have been there, just asking them all kinds of questions. But I guess, like definitely hunting in terrain over hunting in like flat ground. Like I grew up around flat ground, and it's definitely different. I feel like it makes things a lot more difficult because, I mean, where I live, like you're going to find turkeys out in fields, and like most of the timber is pretty dense and hard to move through, or at least you're not going to find a turkey living in it. And there's just kind of like not a lot of public to run around. So like there are a lot of turkeys. Don't get me wrong. Like if you have access to land around here, you could probably get a bird. But it's super different than some of the big national forests out west or out in the Appalachian Mountains. There's a ton of good stuff out there. It's some of my favorite, but definitely like I feel like I can trust a gobble in flat ground. Like I can trust how far I think it is. But like if I'm West Virginia specifically is the worst for it. It's just like feel like I can never get a good direction on where the gobble was. Like you hear it echoing like off the other side of the holler, and you're like, "Whoa, was that two gobbles?" I was like, "No, it's just one," and then it echoed and came back to me. So it's just like can be really tricky there. Out west, Miriam's is like honestly a whole different ball game. Like they just if you don't like pretty much if you're not on the north, south, east, west direction that they decide they're going to go that day, like you're not going to get to them. You're not going to turn them around. They're just going to keep going that way. And like unless you can drive and get out in front of them, it makes it pretty tough.
Wow.
But they do gobble a lot, so they're pretty easy to find. I'd say Easterns can sometimes be a little bit more trickier to find. But the Miriam's gobble a lot. I didn't have any trouble finding them when I was out there. And I'd say the most important thing about Miriam's is like, if you can get tight to them on the roost, like that's how I shot one in Montana and one in South Dakota. And like roosting in the evening, both of those birds, they flew up in the tree and they gobbled for an hour before the sunset. And so I just like, they're going to keep gobbling. I'm just going to kind of follow my way up to where their tree is. And I spotted both of the turkeys in the tree, glassed them up. And it's like, okay, I'm going to figure out where I'm going to set up here in the morning and come back in the morning. And that's how it worked both times for me out west. It is tricky.
So with the Miriams, you're saying like is that because they cover a lot more ground during the day, and as where like an Eastern that is like around a food source will like mill around timber for a while?
Yeah.
So you gotta get on their flight path essentially.
Yeah, totally.
Or you're screwed. Yeah.
They are tricky. And I set up within 75 yards of a bird with a bunch of hens 2 mornings in a row, and he pitched and sailed 500 yards across the country. And I was just like, well, like it doesn't matter. I was 75 yards from him because now I'm 500 yards from him, and
575 yards,
and he's not gobbling anymore. So, yeah.
So I'm curious, Roy. in the different terrains, do you find yourself using like no decoys and just trying to use the terrain to bring them up over a hill more? Or
Yeah.
talk about like your approach in those different terrains as it relates to decoys.
Yeah. Well, I haven't used a decoy since I like the first turkey that I shot. It's honestly like I recommend it to everybody. Like it's frustrating, but it is just like so much more fun to watch them just like kind of come through the woods like looking for you, and they'll like hammer in your face because they can't see you, they can't find you. Instead of when they have a decoy to get fixated on, like like as soon as they see the decoy and you know that they're going to go to it, it's just kind of like, okay, like we got this bird. But like I guess I really love the conversation back and forth, and then seeing that through to the end where he's coming to find the hen and he doesn't see her, but he's still coming, he's still trusting, and then you get him. I feel like that's just like maybe it's just me, but I think that's what I really like.
So talk to someone who is like, man, I'm going to try that. I've been using decoys. I'll just say I primarily use decoys. So if I want to start going to that next level, like you're describing, how do I go about things differently? What are the things that I need to consider if I leave the decoy in the truck and I'm chasing after something? How am I approaching that different?
It's definitely like you have to be super thoughtful about your setups and like where, like your best guess about where he's going to come from. And if you can find a way to be in range with him as soon as you two can see each other, then like that's honestly like, even if he doesn't see you and just keeps coming, like if you can put yourself in a scenario to where when he pops up, he's going to be in range, and you can either get him like right then if he sees you, or he can, if he doesn't see you, then you can just watch him look for you.
Yeah. So you're using terrain features sometimes, and so like if you know that a bird's going to come up over the ridge, you're going to want to be within 30 yards of the top of that ridge when it pops its head over. Yeah. Or if you're working some sort of clearing in the timber or something like that, you want to put yourself where that when that bird's going to pop out, he's going to die essentially. Yeah. Which is different than decoys because you're trying to get them in the opening and get them visible to decoys to pull them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tracking that.
I like hunting field edges too. It makes it like super difficult without a decoy. Like maybe I'm just stupid and should put a decoy out there, but like you have to like, you kind of got to watch. I just like watching them. Like that's the best part about it. And you kind of got to watch them, and it's like when they're at their like peak fired up, I guess, like I feel like that's when you call to them, and like that's it. Like if you try to call to them before the temperature is right, then they're just going to sit out in the field and strut around. And even if it is right, they still might do that, but they might come a little bit closer, and you might be able to swing around and get a different angle on them. Like it's hard to explain unless you've done it a couple times, but a lot of it is positioning, and a lot of it is just like knowing when to call. Knowing when to call.
Would you say that's because like mature toms or the dominant tom is going to get out in the open and make themselves seen? And if they perceive that you should be able to see them, if you're a hen, then they're not going to move. They're just expecting you. Like the dude's like, I'm doing my bit. Like, where the heck are you? You know?
Yeah, right. So, but that's what it is.
Yeah. But in the timber, you're using the natural cover for them to get themselves in a place to be seen. And that's when you want to be there. Yeah. I never thought about it that way. That is interesting. That's good.
Yeah.
So talk. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just gonna say my favorite turkey hunt that it pops to my head right away was done without a decoy, and similar to what you said, Roy, when you see them doing their thing and you're up close and personal, I spotted some in a field, and I actually did not call at all. I was able to just get out. Well, I tried calling, and it was like the tom was like, I'm taking my harem somewhere else. Like he was like moving away, because there was some satellite toms around too. But I was able to use the terrain to get out in front of them and crawl up to the field edge in this super thick stuff. And as soon as I popped up, the hens were already like tight to me. And then I got to see the tom, and I ended up shooting him at 4 yards. But it was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was wild, because watching him interact with his hens, because I didn't have a shot right away because the hens were like right there. And I'm like, I was like, I swear they can hear my heart beating because we were so close. But watching him do his thing and communicate with the hens and gobble and do all this stuff right in your face was just the most intense experience. And then for it to pay off, but even if it hadn't, it still probably would have been one of my favorite experiences of all time, just being right there, close and personal with him. It was fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is cool.
I hunt primarily in Trumbull County of Wisconsin, so it's like the bluffy ag stuff, and so we get a mix of both, where we, depending on the circumstance, I very often use decoys, and we'll work meadows or field edges, but sometimes we get into the timber and we get set up, and it's just hard to describe the feeling of a tom being held up right on the crest of the ridge, and you can't quite see his head yet, but he's freaking out, and he's like, where are you right now? I'm not coming down to you. You are definitely coming up to us. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah.
I think it's just like taking away the sense of like sight on the bird, so that it's only like you're only communicating with based on what you can hear from him.
Yeah.
And like when he starts to get close and you hear drumming or you hear him walking in the leaves, it's like, oh, dude, this is like way cooler than actually seeing him sometimes. Yeah. Like it really gets you going. It's just like the anticipation of seeing him, but hearing him and knowing that he's right there, and it's like, where's he going to pop up at? It's like, this is that really gets me fired up.
Well, one of the first episodes, that you just put out, it was at West Virginia, or where was that? Where you were hunting with another guy from Untamed, if I'm thinking about that right?
Cole Booth. He was.
Tell us that story, because that seems to be a story where you guys were real close. Some of you couldn't see him, but it was in timber, and then he finally made the shot available.
We heard this bird gobbling like pretty far down in the holler, so we started kind of working down a ridge on top of him, and we figured he was probably pretty close. So Caden was filming, Cole was also there, both had guns, and Caden and I kind of dropped back into a setup, and Cole goes to like the edge of the ridge to call, and he said when he called, the bird gobbled like 40 yards down the hill. Like he said, it shook him to his core. And so he comes like running back, like we get set up on the tree, and it's not too much longer that the bird comes up over the ridge, and we're all like kind of at different angles and having a hard time seeing him. But eventually, like Cole sees him like strutting out at 40 yards, and he's just doing his thing out there. Like didn't really ever break strut, was just out there kind of walking back and forth looking for us, and eventually just kept coming, and it was one of those deals where like I was on him, but Caden wasn't on him, and then I didn't have him, but Caden had him, and Cole had him, and it was just like all the different angles, nobody could get on it at once. And I was visiting in West Virginia. I had like 2 days to hunt, and Cole was living there at the time. And so I kind of figured that I was just going to shoot the bird, but after like all of that back and forth and nobody can get on him, and like I almost shot him, but I tried to get him to break out a strut, and he never broke out a strut, and then he went behind a tree for me, and then before I knew it, Code pulls the trigger on him and blasts him right there. I'm like,
nice.
I was like, actually, for maybe 30 seconds, I was like, what the heck, dude? Like, I'm only going to be here. Like, I have limited time. You got the rest of the season.
You live here, man. What are you doing?
I was like, come on, man. But I mean, I felt that way for on it probably less than 30 seconds, and then I was like, okay, like whatever. That was really cool. I get to keep on it, so
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Can we talk about calling a little bit? How have you learned and developed as a caller, and specifically those no decoy scenarios where you're doing the extra work to get them over terrain? And talk to us about when you're calling, so timing, and then tactic. Like, what sorts of calls are you using? What do you find yourself using most, both for timing and tactics?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, if I don't know where bird's at, I'm going to call a lot. I'm going to walk like, I'll probably call like in some scenarios, like every 200 yards. And just like, you know, you never know. Like, especially where it's like if you're in dense cover, or like you're coming over a ridge, like, or calling on the backside of the ridge, so whatever is over the ridge can hear you. Like it depends on the scenario, but like if I don't know where bird's at, I'm gonna call a bunch. If I do strike one, kind of just like gauging his temperature. If I strike him, I'm definitely gonna hit him right back. And if he keeps gobbling, I'm gonna hit him right back again. And if he keeps going, if he'll gobble like 3 or 4 times, then that'll be like when I shut up on him. If I get him to strike and he does, and I call back to him and he doesn't respond, typically he's got a hen. Like I'd say 75% of the time, he's just like courtesy gobble, letting you know that I'm here. Like I got a hen. Like you come to me, pretty much.
Yeah.
I definitely like different scenarios call for different things. If I've got the bird kind of hooked, he's gobbled 3 or 4 times, I'm waiting for him to kind of show himself or gobble again to let me know that he's closer or something. I might shut up on him for a little bit and just let him kind of just try to figure out what he's going to do.
Yeah.
When I'm set up on a tree and haven't heard from him in a while, I'll call again. And if he jumps all over it, then I'll jump all over it again. And like if it really is just about gauging their temperature. Like if they're cutting you off, or if they're gobbling like really quickly after you've called them, then I'll like really just kind of ramp it up and see how crazy it gets, you know? But if they don't if they gobble and you cut back at them and they don't receive that, then I wouldn't keep calling like intensely at them.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
I was just like in the finishing stages, like, you know, that there's a bird 50, 60 yards over the hill and you're trying to get them to commit the rest of the way. I definitely make scratching noise in the leaves a ton. Like I feel like I've never been like a super confident caller. Like I feel like I'm better now than I have ever been. But every time I go back and watch footage, I'm like, geez, that was rough.
That's how I feel.
That.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Listening to myself.
Dude, every time. Yeah, every time. Like I said, I feel more confident now, but like the finishing, I guess, yardage, I definitely try to scratch a ton, because I've never really been good at like the soft clucks and soft yelps and stuff like that. So scratching in the leaves is totally like totally been something that I use a ton. And then I'll talk about one more scenario. It's like where you've got them you've got him hung up at 100 yards. He's hammering at you, but he won't come any closer. Like that's also a time where I'll just shut up and I'll scratch in the leaves. Like I've gotten up. I've had that scenario happen, and I've gotten up and I've literally just like made snow angels in the leaves, like trying to make as much like leaf noise as possible when they're hung up like that. And I'll just shut up on the call, but I'll let them know that I'm walking over here, I'm scratching over here. Like if they can hear that, I feel like oftentimes when they're hung up like that, they'll close the distance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How long of a sequence of scratching do you do? Or do you just
how many snow angels? How many leaf angels?
How many leaf angels?
Precisely how many leaf angels? We need to know.
If I'm going to get up out of my setup and off of the tree, then I usually make it pretty quick. Just something loud enough so that he hears it, but also like I got to get back set up and make sure that I'm ready. So
that's good to hear, man, because I honestly have been super hesitant to scratch because that's been a newer thing for me. And I don't know if it's my deer hunting training that kicks in. It's like
to not make noise.
I'm just like, this seems like everything against hunting to make a bunch of noise right now. Yeah. So it's good to hear you say that, because now this year I'll have a little bit more confidence. I've done it before, but every time I do it, I'm like, I feel like I'm ruining this. I feel like I'm just saying, get away from me.
It works. It works for deer too.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
I remember there was one hunt in Ohio where I was filming Zach on my internship, and we were walking. It was super calm, dry day, and the leaves were just like ridiculously loud. Like you couldn't walk anywhere without being heard for like 200 yards away. So we were just like really creeping along this logging road on top of this ridge, and it falls off like pretty steep on either side. And we like hear something walking up ahead of us. And so we kind of like, we think it might be a squirrel, but we kind of just get ready. And then eventually we hear it like cross the road, like 200 yards up in front of us. We're like, okay, I think it's a deer. Like, it sounds like a deer. So we creep up a little bit further, and eventually he starts walking. There's like a little like 30-yard hill just on the right side of the logging road that we're on. And he walks on the other side of that, and we can hear him right on the other side of that. And we're just standing in the logging road, like no cover, kind of like get down to the side, and we like scratch the leaves so that we wouldn't be noisy when we if we needed to move, like if he was coming in and we needed to shift, like we made sure we had leaves scratched out from under us. And when we did that, the buck like started making a scrape up, like call and response, started making a scrape up there because he thought we were another buck making a scrape. And so he got like real defensive. And so he comes and he walks past us. So we have to turn around and we flip to the other side of the logging road because it's up on, I guess it's up close to that hill. I felt like we have more cover over there. And he comes down off the hill like 25 yards and like a big, gnarly looking 8-point. And he steps out, and there's just like this horizontal log that's covering his vitals. And he only gives us like a second and a half, maybe. And Zach didn't shoot because of that log, and he took off and ran. But it was that, like, you can make noise.
Zach tells that. Zach has told that story, I think, a lot on the THP podcast. I listen to that sometimes when I'm running, and I feel like he's referenced that story as one of his bigger like learning experiences in the past years. Because he's brought it up multiple times. And he talks about that log, and he's like, if we just would have done this or that, and it's really interesting to hear him tell that story. I have to say something before it escapes my mind, but you just, I think, coined maybe my favorite turkey hunting phrase when you said the Tom gives like a courtesy gobble, as in to say like I'm here, I am a Tom, you can come here if you want, but I'm not gonna come there. I love that. The courtesy gobble, because I know exactly what you're talking about when it's the Tom is hung up with a hen, and he'll let you know, but he's like, and I have a field at my house where I hunt them out of. He'll let you know, but he is not coming. He's like, I'm here. So I'm going to call that now from here on out. Let it be known. Roy just gave me my favorite new.
I can't take credit for it. I don't know who I heard say it, but I have heard maybe multiple people in the turkey world say it before. So I can't take all the credit, but I'm glad that you heard it from me.
Well, you got.
I am too.
You got the Huntxp copyright on it. So
heck yeah,
there you go. Okay, so I would love to hear your opinion on this. I feel like the more I've turkey hunted, our camp and people I've talked with have talked about Tom's bubbles. And they've said, like, if you can get in the bubble, like if they're held up and you're running and gunning, I would just be curious if you think this is true or in your experience. If you can so this is the scenario where they maybe shut up or they're not moving. Maybe they'll gobble at you, but they've got a hen. But if you can somehow it's a windy day or something like that, but if you can get yourself in the bubble, and I think in my experience, the bubble is like 100 yards or something like that, then they'll bust or break. It's like you get close enough where they're not going to lose their hen to pick you up and you're ticking them off enough. Is that true? Have you noticed the same thing? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely true. Because it has to deal with like what I was talking about, like calling frequently. I remember there's this one hunt where I was in North Carolina. I was walking the edge of this field and it's like a long horizontal, like slender field. Like it's maybe only like 100 yards across and it's like 600-700 yards wide. I was just walking the edge of it and I knew the whole time that I was calling every 100-200 yards, this Tom could absolutely hear me. But it wasn't until like I wrapped all the way around and got in his bubble did he gobble and then came right in.
Yeah.
So the bubble is for sure a thing.
The bubble is real. The bubble is real. Dude, that's awesome. Any other questions, Johnny? Any other thing you're thinking about?
Is Zach as meticulous in real life as he is on the show? Like what you see from Zach, is he thinking every single detail through like you see on the show?
Totally. And overthinking. Absolutely.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I was just wondering. I think I knew the answer to that, but I just wanted to ask.
Honestly, everybody is exactly how they are on the show.
Okay. And that's what that's what I think I like about the show too, is like you can tell like these are just real guys like you and I, and that's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Is there something you think fans of THP or even you like don't get about the guys or don't get about you or get wrong?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think it's pretty apparent that everybody like most of them shy away from the spotlight. All of them shy. Like they don't want it. They don't want to have to deal with people recognizing them on public land and having to stop. Like they appreciate it to a certain degree, but like if there's a turkey goblin and this guy's stopping to come and talk to me, like that's that's obviously not what anybody wants to do. But like you don't want to be rude, and of course they appreciate everybody. But I feel like that was maybe a bad example, but like they're just like they just want to go hunt. They're down to earth. They're humble guys. Like they don't really want all of the attention, but that's just kind of what they get, and it makes their job.
It's their fault.
It makes their job possible. So they appreciate it, but they're definitely not like they're just good dudes. Like
that's great.
I feel like they're genuinely in it to kind of what we talked about, like to help other people. I said before you came on, I think it was like they've made hunting more for like every man, every woman, making it accessible to everyone. I feel like in a real way. So if you don't have a lease, if you don't have private land, they're showing you a way where you can also be successful. Yeah, which I think is cool. And I think it's really neat too your turkey van tour, like you said at the beginning, like you just stepped out of your comfort zone and just kind of went, like you just went for it, and you've had a lot of success and you've learned a lot. And I'm sure every year you get a little bit better at it and you learn more. And so I think that's kind of inspiring too, because a lot of people will stick to only what they know, right?
Yeah.
They don't venture out and try something new in the hunting world, but they're missing out.
Totally. I'd say the jump into the deep end, just sending it, like you're not only going to learn a little bit and get a little bit better, like you're going to get a lot better. Like the jumps that you make from just like jumping into it, like you're going to be so much better at hunting, even if you don't have success. Like if you don't go into the woods with the mindset of like, I'm either going to get one or I'm going to learn something that's going to help me get one in the future, then like I won't say you're doing it wrong, because you can do it however you want. But if you want to be a better hunter, like that's the mindset that you need to have.
Roy, what do you look forward to in your own hunting career? I know you, at the get-go you said you do a lot of editing now and film work, but what would you like to do? What would you like to be doing in 5 years?
I don't know. I don't think about 5 years away. I really like love what I'm doing right now. I don't know that I'll always love it, because I do have to travel a lot for work, and I'll probably have a kid at some point, and I probably won't want to travel as much. But so I don't know what I want to do in 5 years, but right now I really like what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's good. And you got to film for Remy Warren, did I see earlier this year?
Yep.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I got to film for Remy on an Idaho moose tag that he drew, and I hunted with him for like 7 or 8 days, I think. And we got close like a bunch of times, and then he shot one after I left 2 days later, which I knew he would. But
thanks, Remy. Thanks.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good
That's
time.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome, dude. Thank you for your time. Dude. Thank you for
absolutely.
It's late where you are now, and I appreciate you hanging out with us and swapping stories and some techniques. So we're excited to see what comes this season and keep track with what you're doing.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Good stuff. Cut. Dude, thank you, man. This is great.
For real.
Of course.
Behind the scenes bonus banter.
That is how you ad-lib an intro when you have it prepared.
It's like we're the perfect combo for that, because you're a pastor and I'm a teacher, and I just every day have to just fake it. You just have to.
Just fill in the gaps, man.
And I do announcements at church now, and like I walked into church and I was like, I did not read the announcement list at all. And I looked at Rachel kind of like worried, and then I was like, oh wait, I'm good. It's fine.
It's good.
I'll just make it up.
We've got things on the days for you to do.
Yep.
In the bulletin. They're gonna be awesome.
Check them out.
Yes. Excitement.
We had Ruby's Pantry. It's like, the sign. It's all the food that people buy shares of and come and get at the church.
Sure.
And there was like 5,000 pounds of loose potatoes left over. And so I was going up to do announcements, and someone was like, can you announce that there's bags of potatoes? And I was like, I guess. So after I gave the formal announcements, I was like, by the way, on the back table, there are bags of potatoes. So if you need some potatoes, we got you some potatoes.
We got you some
potatoes, man. If you need some, we got you some. But good stuff.
All right. Text is sent.
Oh, Roy.
How's it going, guys?
Good, dude.
Good.
What's up?
Good. Not much, dude. We're excited. Really excited.
We're pumped for you.
Yeah, totally. Hear y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Sweet.
How was dinner? Sorry to scare you.
Oh, it was good. I just made a chicken quesadilla, so nothing too fancy.
So Johnny, I was Instagram messaging with Roy.
Yeah.
And then he's like, is it at 9 or 9:30? He had like a mini freak out. Like, am I missing this right now? I was like, no.
Am I gonna miss my chicken quesadilla?
Yes.
Yeah. I had time to finish cooking.
This is so fun, man. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
Hey there, thanks for watching this video. I'm JD, founder and crew member of the Huntxp team. We're so grateful that you took time to watch this video, and hopefully it's helping you level up your hunting game. That's what we and our community is all about, and we want to invite you into this growing community of hunters that's all about leveling up each other's hunting game. So the first thing you can do is like and subscribe, but even more than that, we got some fun things going on over at our website, huntxp.com. We'd love for you to join our community there and stay connected with what we're doing, what we're working on, and we'd love to hear about what you're after. So thank you for watching this video. We'll see you next time.